how have you been able to sustain Art Soul Radio along with, your other work that you've done for the past 10 years, right? Because you started Art Soul in 2009, right?
No, no. 2014.
Oh my goodness. I don't know where I'm getting these numbers from because I was like, it's either '09 or 2012.
No, I started a nonprofit organization in 2010 called Cover Them with Love. I
Yep.
did that, and that was before Art Soul. Now, the vision for Art Soul was in my heart and in my spirit to do. So if you Google something, I don't know, you might see something up from then, but it hadn't started yet. Not at all. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, yeah. Well, then for the past 6 years, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you been able to sustain, along with doing other work as well and just in general?
I think part of it is passion. Um, it doesn't feel like work when it's something that you really enjoy doing. That's one thing. Um, Balance, carving out time for one thing over the other. And like I said, sometimes I've done really great at that, and sometimes I've done really bad at it. So that's something I've learned. I'm much better now. And then, of course, having amazing people who share that same passion to see it grow, it would not exist right now if those people, including yourself being one of those people, had not stepped in to offer their skill sets and their talents to help push it forward. I am grateful to God for that. Like I told you and anyone else who's ever worked with me, I really believe that if it's God's thing, if it's God's vision, then it's our job to steward it, and to learn how to steward it well and better as we grow together. You know what I mean? So, and that just can't be done by me alone at all. So, um, it's sustained by other people. It's sustained by God's sending them.
Yeah. And then one person I thought about, who I feel like is just one of those people that I remember from, working with
Yeah.
art is Vince Clark. Shout out to Vince. Like he was like super faithful. I don't know if he's
Yes.
still, like helping out and stuff, but
Hmm.
I just thought about him.
He's so good. He's such an amazing writer. He's not writing anywhere right now because he's taking care of his amazing family, wife and child. And I think that is so commendable. Obviously, I've seen a lot of artists do the same thing where they've had to make the hard decision of, do I keep doing these passion projects that I'd love to do? Um, do I keep doing my music and take care of my family, or when is it time for me to slow down on one and just focus on the other? Those are always hard decisions, I feel like, for everyone. But I think that's the vein he's in. I don't even think he's doing music right now, but I do hope that whether he writes with us, or anyone else in CHH or gospel, that he writes again because he's great, and that he does music again because he's pretty good at that too. So
I didn't know he was an artist. I had no
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I feel like we see so many artists who, like I said, have to make that decision, because it's this life isn't as lucrative for everyone. You know what I mean? Especially artists, and it's like they have to make that decision. Belief made that decision. Does he
Yep.
continue with his music, or does he find another way to move
Yeah.
forward in his passion while still taking care of his family? And he found a real creative way to do it that's working now. And now he makes music when he wants to, but it may not be his main thing. But yeah, these are life decisions we all have to make at some point.
Yeah. And it's so cool to see people like believe who pivot in that
Yeah.
way. And
Hmm.
yeah. Can you talk about anything new that people can look forward to? Like anything new on the horizon for Heart Soul?
I will say there are some things that are new that are coming that I won't speak about, but it's going to be great. One thing 2020 has taught me is, let's hold on, let's hold off on some of the announcements because we don't know what the new year is going to bring.
Yeah.
Um, but we have some great things planned and together. Some things that were planned to do that COVID kind of shut down, but some other doors were open during this season. that will enable us to do things in the right timing in the future. So I'm excited to see those things. I won't go too deep into that, but what I can say is that there'll be more conversations um, in the Uplift Conversation series, where we'll be covering a lot more uh, topics like the one we spoke with those artists about that we just spoke about. But what else? More events, online events. I know they're not the same as in person. We all miss that, but we're going to make sure that these are special and that these have a lasting impact. That's all I'll say. It's going to be great. So tune in and stay connected for that. Those are the things that I can mention for sure right now that are coming soon.
Okay, that's absolutely fair. And Samira, I'm so happy that you said that because you made me think about what I was trying to think about earlier.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
because and you when you said like I don't want to announce anything because 2020, and Hillary J said the same thing,
Yeah.
like with her stuff. And
Yeah.
one thing that we also talked about was because she was saying how she's writing more just in the Jonathan McReynolds lane,
Mm-hmm.
like life music. And
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to say earlier, that I feel like a lot of artists and a lot of fans too are having so much more open and having so much more of an ear to just relatable music
Mm-hmm.
lyrics and stuff, and that just through the life through the lens of a believer and not
Yeah.
just Jesus every other line.
Yeah. 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 I love that. And that is like we were talking about earlier, what Art Soul is all about. It's one of the key reasons why I started it. Just seeing so many of those artists that didn't fit, they were misfits because they wanted to write from the lens, from a Christian worldview, but talking about everyday life, like you just said, after we know that the gospel, that Jesus was born, died, resurrected, important for us to know, important for us to make a decision about. But once we've gotten past that, we then also need to learn how to live in light of that information. How do we handle relationships with each other? How do we handle pivoting in life? When you're going to college for the first time and you're living alone for the first time. I mean, all of those things are life things where, you have your first child, you get married, just we need music that speaks to everyday life. And one of our slogans has always been music that you can live to. So life music is what we push. It's what we push for a long time. So if anyone's just looking for positive, encouraging music in various styles, hip hop, um, pop, Christian soul, like you can check it out here, no matter what you believe. It
Yes,
fits.
and one thing I will say about art, so just a lot of the times when I used to be editing and stuff, and I was listening to the show via the website and whatnot, is
Yeah.
knowing being exposed to new artists. Art so definitely does that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep, that's definitely something we want to keep doing.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that like I sometimes miss about doing journalism in that way, um,
Mm-hmm.
is just kind of putting myself in the way of a lot of new music and artists and stuff, because I feel
Yeah.
like just on the fan side of it, it's so much, to try to like comb through,
Yeah.
um, and to like be aware of like and to keep up with. Too. Like it's really hard to keep up with what everybody is doing, like
It
on
is.
top of like your faves and any new
Yeah.
people.
It is. It is. It's like you go to YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, and you kind of know what you're gonna find. You can happenstance upon a couple of new artists, but there's still usually hundreds more that we're missing. That those sites haven't even picked up yet. Yeah, it's hard to keep track. It's hard to keep track. It really is.
Yes, but in speaking of music, one thing that I'm very interested to know is, have you ever considered being an artist or recording music?
What brings
Don't
this
look at me
question?
like that, because you'll be thinking on Instagram with the Boise videos. This is
You are
like Yeah.
Yes, I did do that a few times, didn't I? No, I have not thought about being an artist. No. I guess I guess before I started Art Soul, I mean, people who knew me well before that probably know that I sang all the time. Probably so much that it's annoying. I sang commercials, anything. Yep, that's me. I did a lot of singing in the praise team at different churches I've been a part of, um, and then just alone at home. But that is it. I have not thought about being an artist. I might I write a lot, so maybe write for other people one day. I wouldn't say that I would be against that, not at all. Yeah, I want to use whatever I have. I feel like if you can sing on key a little bit, you got something. So yeah, I don't see myself being like some full-time artist like the people we promote. No, but just using it like I was already doing before I even started Art Soul, like in a church, or writing for others. If I record something, it'll be just like to hear the finished product. It's you hear I hear music and things in my head, and I always have, and I'm always recording on my phone. Um, so if I record, it would just be to get that full everything I'm hearing here just locked down somewhere. But yeah, I can't see myself being some full time artist. I'm too shy for that.
Okay, I was wondering, this would be a good question to ask because you be thinking though. So
Thank you.
earlier you mentioned your organization that you did start 10 years ago, Cover Them with Love, which
Yes.
reading it from your website, like I love the concept of providing clothing and other necessities for young people.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, before Art Soul, I mean, I just always had a heart and passion for giving. And in Chicago, you see a lot of homeless people, and you see a lot of people just really talking down to them in really rude ways. And I think 2020 has taught us probably the thing we should already know, that a lot of us are just one paycheck away from being homeless. A lot of us are just one heartbreak away from being depressed enough to not be able to move, to do anything, which can lead to homelessness.
Talk about it.
Um, it's like we are just one bad decision, one bad situation, a few missed paychecks from being homeless ourselves. Some of those people out there are the most intelligent people, degreed people. You know what I mean? We don't know people's stories. Everybody has a story that we don't know about. And so I think we should give people more grace. And I just always saw people just walking past and just saying the worst things. And I just wanted to give back. And so I remember in that season, I didn't have much to give at all, but I knew a lot of people on Facebook who did. So we raised a lot of money, found a friend to help out, and we found more friends to jump in and help out. And we ended up doing that for like 3 years at least. Made it a nonprofit, and yep, reached out to just homeless people in general in Chicago, but with a heavy focus on homeless youth.
Mhm.
That was key. And a lot of them happened to be individuals who dealt with what they called then gender identity issues as well,
Mhm.
um, just from being kicked out of the house. So our key was to show them love. It didn't matter who they were, what they looked like, what their lifestyle was like. Our goal was to go and show them love and physically give them clothing, not to pass it off to another company that might sell it, but to physically give it to them so that we could really minister the love of Christ to them, um, just through our giving and through our actions, because we weren't allowed to preach, teach, or invite them to church or anything. No proselytizing, I think they called it. So all we could do was just be a light, be the light of Christ.
I
Yeah.
think about even going to like the tapes and stuff, and seeing homeless people there, which is, like really saddening to see, like, period anyways. But
Yeah.
like me and my sister talked about it the last time that we went, like, everyone's eating and like they're not and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
such an issue. I'm trying to think of what I was watching or like what I heard, but like the fact that when you like have homeless people and at like
Mhm.
such an alarming rate, it's it means that like your society is like, failing, obviously. Like they said, like they said it like way deeper than that,
Mhm.
but yeah, like especially in America, why is anyone homeless, I think about when Jesus said like you will always have the poor, you
Yeah.
know. Um
Yeah.
and I don't know, that honestly just makes me sad. I know like that's just another like harsh reality, like when it comes to sin and stuff.
Sure.
Um, but but yeah, like I kind of wish that it didn't have to be like that.
Yeah. And then again, there are so many reasons why some people are homeless. Some choose to live that way for various reasons. Um, that has nothing to do with what they don't have. And like a lot of the young people that we ended up seeing specifically on the north side of Chicago, and I'll say too that a key thing about them is that the majority of them don't look homeless. And that's often on purpose. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. And some of them go to college, you
That
know,
too,
some
yeah,
of them are in school and they
yeah,
just don't have a home to live. And others are just vicariously housed in the sense that they don't have a home of their own. They're couch surfing. That's still technically homelessness,
yeah.
because they don't have their own home. So there are many different degrees of homelessness as well. So I guess
Mm.
when we're wondering, why they're homeless in America, um, there are a lot of different reasons of why. And then some of the young people that I mentioned in that area also were kicked out of their home because of the lifestyle that they chose to live. Maybe they chose to live a homosexual or lesbian lifestyle, and they came from a very religious home or just a home that just didn't agree with it for whatever reason. And um, similar to what I said with us going out there, regardless of what we believe, we're still called to love each other. You know what I mean? And I can't speak to everybody's home situation as to why that didn't happen and why that caused some of those young people to be out on the street by themselves at 15 and 14 years old. That's heartbreaking. Just listening to the stories of uh, some of those 15-year-olds of things they had to do just to get a warm place to stay. And it's cold as heck in Chicago.
Especially
Negative
down
30s.
by the lake.
Listen, negative 30s, 0, 1, these are real degrees. And for a 15-year-old baby to be out on the street that way breaks my heart. And for it to be because their lifestyle isn't accepted, that's a tough pill to swallow. Like, just to think about how unloved they feel, how much of a wreck they feel, and then some of them feel worthless, and we're talking to them, hearing their stories, and hearing the things they'd had to give in to do. They're being raped. They're giving them, just, and I'm talking about even young boys having to allow themselves to be taken advantage of by other men just to have a warm place to stay, not because they wanted to. Young girls having to do things. It's a lot. Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why they're homeless, but thankfully there are also a lot of resources available. So we just wanted to be a resource. And we were still learning. Me and the friends that just came together to do it, we were still learning about the homelessness issue in Chicago as we were doing it. Our minds were getting blown every week. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I wanted to ask, I don't know if it's something that you might start up again or if it's any updates with Cover Them with Love at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely is something I want to do again for sure. So, whether it will be under the same name or not, I'm not certain, but it'll absolutely be something that we do again. Whether it'll be only in Chicago, it'll probably not be just in Chicago, but absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. And yeah, I would definitely love to be a part of that.
Awesome.
You had a recent talk with Jam the Hype. Shout out to them. And
Out.
kind of in passing, you mentioned that, and forgive me if I'm not quoting you precisely,
Mhm.
but you mentioned that you were afraid to tell people in your church that you were called to teach. And that's something that I didn't know about you. And so when you say called to teach, do you mean, creatively or the Bible or both?
I'd say both. I'd say they're things I've always been doing. Again, that I feel like life after Art Soul, there are a certain body of people that met me only after Art Soul. So they don't know Tamara before that. They don't know what I've done. They didn't know that I sang. They didn't know that I
Mhm.
write. They didn't know that I did a lot of illustration in terms of drawing and art and painting. Um, so there's a lot of other things that I've done before Art Soul, and more things that I plan to do outside of it. But in addition to that, I did a lot of teaching previously to teenagers, college, and some adults. I was teaching really early, like let's see, I got saved in high school, so I was 16, and then maybe a couple years after that, God just had me teaching. Like I was running a Christian group inside of the public high school I went to. Um, Myself and a friend of mine, we were the lead teachers of that group at that high school, and then we both ended up working with Metro Chicago Youth for Christ, and I worked with them for about 4, almost 5 years, where it's mainly just campus ministry, where you work on high school campuses. Um, so I did a lot of that. Love, man, I that gives me life more than anything else that I do. Teaching.
Mhm.
Love it. I need to do it more in these days. I do miss it. So I think in this resting season, that might be one of the different things that God is just kind of stirring in me again. I definitely miss doing that. But I did teaching inside of the church. I taught Sunday school. I was a Sunday school teacher.
Probably
A
the
very,
youngest one they have, right?
say it again.
Probably the youngest one they have, right?
I actually was one of the youngest ones that they had. It wasn't just me, it was me and a few others. But yeah, and we were teaching kids our age, we were teaching people older and some adults. It was, I loved that the church that I went to at the time was really focused on pouring into us to do that, to teach us in a really holistic way so that we could teach well. Obviously, we still had learning to do, but they gave us space and opportunity to do that, and I think that was great. And they still do that. I see that with others. But so yeah, I think in that interview when I said that I was afraid to tell other people that I was called to teach, I think the context of that was that we were talking about
The church
status quo
stifling
Sunday
your
morning.
creativity.
Right. Yeah. The church stifling creativity. But we were talking about them stifling creativity in music, but
Mhm.
also just kind of stifling anybody who is different, anybody who is not the status quo preacher, teacher, singer, songwriter. And when I would say that I was called to teach, as we would say in church, people would be like, "You? I can't see you hooping." And I'd be like, "Well, it's because I wouldn't hoop." I would not hoop at all. It's not my personality, but there were just some people in some church environments where that's all they know, and they just felt like, this is what preaching looks like. This is what teaching is supposed to look like, and the same thing that they would tell artists. This is what a gospel singer looks like. This is what a gospel singer
Yeah.
should sound like, and then anyone who doesn't fit that kind of gets pushed out. So I think because of that, I found myself like, I don't even want to say it because
Mhm.
I don't want to. Yeah, but that was the
People
thing,
trying
and
to
I'm
kill
like,
your dreams.
girl, you know, or just kill just what you know, or yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I've learned you don't have to wait for approval from a man per se to do what God's already placed inside of you.
Yep.
As he gives you opportunity, you move, you know, have mentors, have counsel for sure. But it's already in you. He's called you to it. You should just walk in it. And that's something that I had to learn how to do.
Absolutely. And I want to say too, if anyone ever invites you to speak or something, I would love to hear you speak and hear you teach.
It has been so long. So,
Because I had
but
no
I'm game.
idea.
Say it again.
I had no idea that that was
Yep.
a part of you.
That used to be a thing. Yeah, I did that often.
We talked about a whole lot, but I did want to ask if you could share your testimony. I know you said that you got saved at 16, but if it's
Mhm.
any more that you want to add to your story of faith.
Testimony. I feel like I have several now
Yep.
to share. I feel like God has saved my life so many times.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, the shortest version that I can attempt to tell about that testimony, because that conversation would be a whole nother convo.
yeah.
Yes, I got saved at 16. Um, my parents had me in church where we would go to Sunday school every Sunday and then we went home. Um, Southern family. So, you know, that's something that we always did. But I didn't go to like, you know, church, you know, where for the message all the time. It's just not something we did earlier on. It's something that happened later. But um, I had a sports injury that I almost died from. I won't go into details because that'll be a whole nother combo. But I had a sports injury and I ended up at the hospital and them telling me that if I didn't have surgery right away, I would have an hour left to live. Um, Thankfully, God used those doctors to get me better and I was well again. But God also used the time after that to draw me closer to Him in ways that I didn't know were possible. I didn't know that you could have a relationship with God. I didn't know you could hear God. I didn't know, um, man, so much I did not know. You know, all I knew was the Bible was a good thing to do, but every time I read it, I could not understand anything of it at all. Um, but God really used that time to teach me that there was more to life than just waking up every day, getting ready to go to school, to come back home to do it all over again, and then to go to church on Sunday, just to go to sleep again, to wake up and do it all over again. I literally remember staring at myself in the mirror and just praying to what I figured must be a God and just thinking like, is this really it? Like, so I go to sleep, I wake up, like I literally would say that and just like this it. And I don't know why as so young I was asking those questions. Maybe because I had almost died. That will definitely change your outlook on life
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how you move in life for sure. Um, but God used that to draw me closer to Him. And maybe one day we can have a longer conversation where I can share how He went about doing that because it was beautiful. I would say that God wooed me close to Him, as was mentioned in the word, and He did. I didn't know you could feel God's presence, and He used that to woo me close to Him. That's a real thing. You can feel God's presence, you know, like He is so real, even when life doesn't feel like it. So real. And he proved himself to me in that after that crazy season. And I feel like he continues to do it, even when, you know, hard times come through and we start to forget. We start wondering, like, you are you up there? You know, like
Yeah.
what's going on for real? You
Mhm.
know, and then he just comes back and reminds you again that he's real and that he hasn't left. So I love God for that. But yeah, he will be close to him back then. I always say he saved my life twice, physically and then also spiritually, obviously. and taught me a lot of things that I did not know. And I'm so glad that God drew me close to him and gave me the desire to want to know him more, and gave me the just enabled me to be open. Because what if I wasn't? What if I wasn't open to know more about him, open to know more about what he had for me? Good gracious, you know, and I don't mean things. I'm not even talking about that. I mean, open to know like the relationship you can have for him, the spiritual gifts that he has for you, you know, like so many things. If I hadn't been open, I just would have missed a lot.
And you just watched episode 10, the last episode of the very first season of this show. Make sure you follow and engage with Tamara Young on social media, and be sure to check out Art Soul Radio. It's a wonderful platform. I'm pretty sure you will find something interesting, something that you like. All the info is in the description box, so check that out. I am so grateful for these first 10 episodes, for every guest that has come on, and for all of you for watching and supporting this show as a literal fetus. All of the love and support has truly meant the world to me and has made my year so much brighter. Thank you. I cannot wait to bring you season 2 of this show. I could tell you some things, but I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. So get ready for a new year, a new season, new baby shark do. I've prepared for this moment. So still gonna be content on this channel, so definitely look out for that. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below, give it a like, and consider subscribing. Thank you once again for sharing a slice of life with me. I'll see you later.